What if a country decided to sue the gun manufacturers of another country, accusing them of indirectly fueling violence within its borders? This is precisely what Mexico has done. In an unprecedented move, Mexico initiated a legal battle against United States gun manufacturers. They pointed the finger at these corporations, accusing them of being accomplices to the rampant violence tearing through their nation. The Mexican government argued that these manufacturers are well aware that their firearms, flowing freely into Mexico, are ending up in the wrong hands. Drug cartels and organized crime syndicates are being armed with these weapons, leading to a surge in violence and instability. Mexico took a bold step, filing a $10 billion lawsuit against these corporations. The lawsuit claims that a staggering 70 to 90% of guns recovered at crime scenes in Mexico are trafficked illegally from the United States. This move was met with opposition and eventually dismissed by a federal judge, citing a law that grants immunity to these manufacturers when their guns are used illegally. But Mexico refused to back down. They stood their ground, appealing the decision and vowing to take the case all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary. After facing an initial dismissal, Mexico did not back down and appealed the decision, paving the way for a historic legal battle. The fight for accountability did not end with the dismissal. Mexico appealed the decision and the courts offered a glimmer of hope. So let's delve into the details of this appeal process and the court's ruling that allowed Mexico to proceed with its lawsuit. Mexico's claim was initially dismissed, but the Federal Court of Appeals for the First District of Massachusetts issued a ruling that paves the way for Mexico to proceed with its lawsuit against United States gun manufacturers. This decision marks a temporary victory for the government of Andrés Manuel López Obrador in its efforts to ensure bilateral acknowledgment of responsibility in the trafficking of American arms and ammunition. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The opposition to Mexico's lawsuit was overturned, arguing that the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, or PLCAA for short, does not prevent them from pursuing proceedings related to the complaint against the firearm manufacturers. The PLCAA is a U.S. law that generally protects firearms manufacturers and dealers from being held liable when crimes have been committed with their products. However, in this case, the court ruled that Mexico could still pursue its lawsuit. But what does this mean for the U.S. gun manufacturers being sued? Well, they now have the option to request a case review before the same court in a plenary session with all 15 judges of the Court of Appeals. Alternatively, they could appeal to the United States Supreme Court, the highest authority, to determine the procedure of Mexico's lawsuit. This victory in U.S. courts is significant, but it's not the final word in the case. The manufacturers sued have their options open, and they are likely to use them. However, the fact that Mexico's case has been allowed to proceed is a major step forward in their fight against gun violence and illicit arms trafficking. With the option to request a case review or appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, the legal battle is far from over. What happens next could set the precedent for future cases of this nature, making this a pivotal moment in the fight against gun violence and illicit arms trafficking. So, as we watch this legal battle unfold, we are reminded that the fight for accountability is ongoing and far from settled. This legal battle is not just about a lawsuit. It represents a struggle for accountability and a call for changes in the gun industry. The potential implications of this lawsuit are far-reaching, affecting not just Mexico and the U.S., but potentially the global gun industry. For Mexico, a victory could mean more than just financial compensation. It could mean a significant step forward in their ongoing fight against gun violence, drug cartels, and organized crime. But what does it mean for the U.S. gun industry? Well, it puts them under a microscope, scrutinizing their practices and policies. Alejandro Telorio Alcantara, a legal consultant for the Mexican Ministry of Foreign Affairs, hailed the lawsuit as a great and historic victory for Mexico, emphasizing that it shed light on the role of U.S. firearm manufacturers in the violence Mexico has been enduring for years. The lawsuit, initiated by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs under Marcelo Ebrard's direction, is not just about holding U.S. gun manufacturers accountable for their alleged role in empowering drug cartels and organized crime in Mexico. It's about pushing for greater cooperation from Washington to curb the flow of arms and ammunition from north to south. The Mexican government accuses firearm manufacturers of being indirect accomplices to organized crime, arguing that they are aware that their products are part of the illicit arms trafficking to Mexico, and yet do not alter their marketing policies. If the lawsuit were to result in a win for Mexico, it could potentially force a rethink in the U.S. gun industry's marketing policies and practices. Regardless of the outcome, this legal battle puts a spotlight on the issue of gun trafficking and violence, prompting us all to rethink our roles in it. This case is more than just a dispute between two nations. It's a wake-up call to the world about the real-world consequences of the global arms trade and the responsibility we all share in addressing it.